At the moment, is it something that any 17-year-old in Jhansi can start tomorrow and become and make a career out of immediately? I wouldn't advise that, right?
Mhm.
But we are on the way, well and truly, right? We are on the way for podcasting to become a significant source of income as a career.
So, Vineet, how did this idea of podcasting come about? Why do we podcast? What is this opportunity?
That's a great question. I think um, over the past 20 years or so, the cost of creation has really fallen, right? You're
Mhm.
seeing video creators, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram, everywhere. Similarly, you're seeing now audio creators come to the fore as well, right? What technology platforms have realized over the past 5 years or so is that audio is an entirely different stream. It's not visual, right? Audio is much more linear. Um, it's much more focused. It's also equally performative as video, and that's the big opportunity, right? If you're a storyteller, you need to create video. It takes a lot more planning and effort and a lot more. Um, there's a lot more friction to get to creating great video content, right? There is friction to creating great audio content, but that friction lies with you, and you can spend your time owning your scripts, creating your sound design, owning your concept in a big way, and put something out there. And I think that's the big opportunity with podcasts, right? All you
Mhm.
need is a great idea, a great concept, the dedication and the passion, like you said, to sit down and make it even better than what it is right now, and then just a home recording setup, right? At worst, you have nothing but your phone, and you can be a
Mhm.
podcast, right? That's the really low barrier to entry. Now everybody can be a creator, and now with audio platforms allowing you scale, everybody can be an audio creator. And I think that's what more and more people are realizing. What's interesting though, Manoj, is that podcasting is not new. The word podcasting comes from the iPod, and the iPod came
Mhm.
out in the early 2000s. So podcasting has
Mhm.
been around for the better part of 17, 18 years, the better part of 2 decades, right? But only now, with sort of renewed focus from technology players, now with renewed focus on storytelling, original content, you're seeing podcasting really come into the fore because it's becoming a hotbed of of new creators coming forward.
So, who can podcast? Anybody who has something to say, and what does it take? What kind of equipment, what kind of a studio, what does it take to become a to podcast on regular basis?
um, I think there is a subtle distinction to be had between anybody can podcast. Can anybody podcast? Absolutely. Can anybody be a
Mhm.
good podcaster? No, that takes work.
Mhm.
I'll start with the first one, right? Like I mentioned a little while ago, all you need is recording equipment at home, right? You need
Mhm.
um, a, a phone, you need a basic editing software, or a laptop and a decent mic like this one, and you're done. That's all you need.
Mhm.
Beyond that, you need an idea that you're dedicated to, a passion that you're dedicated to, that you may not be an expert in it, but you're committed to it, right? So be a student of something. If you're a student of something and you're able to articulate your thoughts about it and have a structured conversation about it, you can be a podcaster, right? Now the journey from being a podcaster to being a good podcaster is also something that I have undergone over the past couple of years, since I started podcasting, right? You have to work at it. You have to plan for your listener. What are you going to present to your listener, right? How do you take your concept, make it interesting enough, right? It can be very easy for you and I to sit and talk in the most boring manner about films, right?
Mhm.
That's not a podcast. That's a boring conversation, right? To turn a boring conversation into a podcast, you need to have the skills of narrative building. You need to have the skill, have the presence of mind to be a good conversationalist. And here I'm talking about conversational podcasts, right? If you're a storyteller, I think podcasting is a fantastic medium for you to start publishing your stories, right? But there again, you have to understand the medium so much better. It is an audio medium. It's not reading, right? It's not visual. You don't have the escape of something shining on screen, and that will take away attention. Storytelling on podcasts is as easy or difficult as storytelling on any other platform, with the added layer of understanding audio really, really well, right? So if you're a writer, you've got a story in your mind, you need to start putting it down in a way that is linear, that is simple, that still holds mystery, still holds intrigue, still holds comedy in the audio space, right? So to come back to answering your question, can anybody be a podcaster? Absolutely, right? It is the most democratic creative platform there is. You don't need to have the confidence of being on camera. You can just have content that you can write down, put out. You simply need to understand the audio medium really, really well and solve for the listener there. And finally, you need to have the commitment to the craft, right? To keep learning, to keep becoming better, taking feedback. All of that becomes very important when you're on your journey from being just a podcaster to a good podcaster.
Okay, let's say you have recorded, you have distributed, and you are trying to make a career out of podcasting. Now, what does it take? Is it sustainable? Are there enough sponsorships available or support systems to support a stream of podcasts or a career engaged in podcasting? Do we have enough finances available for podcasters? Can one sustain a career or a lifetime on podcasting?
It's a very interesting question, and there is a very Indian way of answering this. And then
Mhm.
I'll step back and give you a more global perspective. The Indian way of answering this is, at the moment, no. Right? I'm a paid podcaster. There are a bunch of us here. At the moment, is it something that any 17-year-old in Jhansi can start tomorrow and become and make a career out of immediately? I wouldn't advise that, right?
Mhm.
But we are on the way, well and truly, right? We are on the way for podcasting to become a significant source of income as a career. It may not be the only source, right? Because at the end of the day, if you treat podcasting as a job, then sure, you'll make money out of it, right? You'll find ways to make money out of it. You'll create enough content. You'll put yourself out there in a way that it sustains what you're doing. But we're still not there yet. The reason I say we're on our way is because we've started having exclusive podcast deals in India for major podcasters, right? It's that's
Mhm.
the tipping point for podcasters to be taken seriously as a career option in the long term. Um, Will it take a little more time? Absolutely, right? It needs brands need to take to podcasting in a bigger way, and I think this is the year that it happens. 21-22 is the year that podcasting really goes on a monetization overdrive to create the structures that are needed, the funding structures that are needed for this category to really become self-sustaining, right? But let me zoom out and compare and contrast this with what's happening in the global sense of things, right? Podcasting took 10 to 12 years for globally for it to start
Mhm.
making sense, right? And again, as with any other field, you're going to have the top podcasters and then everybody else. So it will reach a state where it has reached a stage where the top podcasters in the West make enough money to have self-sustaining businesses, right? The
Mhm.
top podcasting companies in the West have made enough content, have made enough distribution networks to be sold to majors for hundreds of millions of dollars. Gimlet was sold to Spotify for $300 million, right? The
Mhm.
Ringers podcast division was sold for an equally large amount. So the structures are there in the West. We are building those in India as well, and very soon, as direct monetization comes around on various social platforms, sorry, on various audio platforms, as more brands invest in this space, as more commission projects start in this space, I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we should be looking at a completely different picture, at least for the top really talented storytelling or conversational podcasts, for sure, 100%.